Hi grade 3, today we are continuing our talk about friction. We remember from last time, friction is what happens when two surfaces rub together. We remember that if the surface is bumpy or rough, it causes more friction. If the surface is smooth and flat, it has less friction. Today we are talking about heat and friction. Did you know that any time two surfaces rub together causing friction, it also causes heat? So I have two blocks. These blocks are pretty smooth, but when I put them together and I rub really hard for a little while, they get pretty warm. That's because when I rub my two surfaces together, it causes heat, because even though I might not be able to see it very clearly, these smooth blocks actually have rough bumps and edges in them. And so that is by rubbing the blocks together, it's rubbing those edges together, causing friction, causing heat. We see this sometimes when people are out in the forest and they want to build a campfire. They rub a stick between their hands and that causes friction and it starts a fire. We also see it, I don't know about you, but sometimes when I'm riding my bike or I'm riding on a scooter and I press the brake, then the tire gets really hot. That's because the brake and the tire are two surfaces touching and rubbing together, causing friction. So when there is friction, there is usually some kind of heat. With some surfaces, there might be more heat because there's more friction. With other surfaces, there might be less heat. So I'm going to show you three surfaces today, and we're going to see which one has the most friction or the most heat. You are going to do an experiment like this at home, so be paying close attention to what I do so that then you can do it at your house. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pick three objects that I'm going to test the friction of. I've written my objects up on the board. I have chosen a stick, a piece of cardboard, and a hanger that I will put my clothes on in the closet. You can pick three objects at your house. You can pick whatever objects you want. Be creative, okay? These are the objects I have chosen. So, my first object is the stick. Now, you might not have a stick just like this at your house, so you might want to use a pencil, or you can even pick another object that isn't like a stick at all. So the way I'm going to find the friction of the stick or the heat is I'm going to rub it really fast and hard and see, it's already getting pretty hot. Ouch, it actually kind of burns my hand. And I feel it, and it's still hot. So I know that if I rub on this stick, there's gonna be some friction there. So this one's, that has some good friction. Now, I'm going to do my next object before I make any choices about which one has the most. My next object is this piece of cardboard. So I'm going to rub it with my hand and see if it produces heat from the friction. It's a little warm, but not as much as the stick, and it's already cooled down. It's not hot much longer. So this one I think is this one's not as much as the stick. My last object is my hanger. I brought this from my closet at home, and I am going to rub the surface and see if it heats up. Ouch. That one gets really hot, I think, and it's still really hot, ouch. So I think this one gets the most heat. So I'm going to fill out my chart here. The hanger has the most heat because it was the hottest and the hottest for the longest amount of time. It's still pretty hot. The stick was the middle. It was hot, and it was hot for a long time, but not as much as the hanger. So I'm just gonna write middle. And the cardboard, it got a little warm, but it wasn't too hot. So I'm just gonna put least, because it had the least amount of heat. Now, all of these objects, I was able to feel the heat from the friction, but some of the objects hold that heat more than others. So in your experiment at home, you can pick 3 objects that you want to test out. Then I want you to record a video of you showing me how you are getting the heat from that friction, just like how I did. You don't have to make a chart if you don't want to, but if you would like to, you can. But all I really need is for you to record a video and then explain to me which one has the most, which one's in the middle, and which one's the least. After this video, you are going to see some information that you can read or listen to that's telling you more about friction and heat, so stay tuned. Friction produces heat. Have you ever been outside in the cold and rubbed your hands together to try to warm them up? If so, you are making use of friction. Anytime 2 surfaces rub against each other, heat may occur. You can feel the heat produced by friction between your moving hands. The longer you rub them together and the harder you press them against each other, the warmer they will feel. If 2 surfaces only rub against each other briefly, the friction does not cause very much heat. Often, the amount of heat produced is too little to notice. Do your socks feel warm after you slide across the floor? Sometimes friction can result in a great deal of heat. It is possible to rub string and wood together in a way that the friction can start a fire.